Hey there buyers, it's Jenna coming to you with another video about when can you start buying the stuff for your house? This is a question I get asked a lot, and during the process of closing, it's generally about 30 days, 30 to 40 days when we get under contract and then the time that we close that you have to kind of get ready for moving. The hard part is like, okay, at what point do we start setting up the utilities? At what point do we start buying the living room furniture? At what point do we buy that refrigerator? You know, that kind of thing. And that's always something that is a question that all my buyers ask. So with that said, let's talk first about purchasing items for your house. I know it can be very, very exciting to buy a house, and it can be a little nerve-wracking because you're trying to kind of know, like, okay, what all do we need? We need all these pieces of furniture. We need to have them all delivered on this day because we're closing on this day. And it becomes kind of an overwhelming process because you're kind of in the middle of not really 100% sure we're going to get to closing. There's a lot of steps that we have to go through to get there. So at what point do I actually start to purchase stuff for my house? Okay, there's a couple of things that I want to address with this question. Number one, while the closing date on our contract is what it is, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to happen perfectly like that. There are times when closings get delayed. There are times when we have to wait a few days before we actually close. And this is just part of the process. There's any number of things that can happen during the course of a real estate transaction that cause a delay in closing. One of those things could be, let's say that we're in the midst of spring season in Texas and we know that weather is very unpredictable. Let's say that we have a windstorm and it comes through and, you know, trees knock into the middle of a window and it busts windows open. Well, now we have to get the windows repaired, and we might be on a list waiting for a bunch of other people to get the windows repaired. So that could delay closing. Let's say that we're waiting on a document and you're waiting for your transcript from the IRS, and the IRS is under a great deal of like a busy season at the moment, and it's just taking them forever to get the documents you need. There are any number of things that can happen outside of your control that prevent closing from happening on time. Sometimes there are things that can happen within your control that maybe you just haven't gotten things quickly enough to the lender or whatever happens. But for the purposes of today, we'll just assume that sometimes closing gets delayed. When you start to order stuff for your house and you all start to have it delivered on that same day, what happens is that you're creating more stress than you're actually resolving, because let's just say that you close on the 30th of October and the closing gets moved to November the 5th. And now you have to go back through, you have to reorganize all of your deliveries, and that's just a very stressful process. So the other thing that happens that could cause an issue is from the time that you get pre-approved for your mortgage until the time we close and fund on the, you know, closing on the dotted line and the money exchanges hands, the lender is able to at any point in time ask for updated bank statements or to pull your credit report. And anything that changes from one day to the next, like for example, a big chunk of money that you had in your bank account that is now missing because you've just spent $5,000 on a living room set. Or let's say that you financed a new truck because you found out that when you're going through the pre-approval process that your credit score was a lot higher than you thought it was going to be. And now all of a sudden you have a debt payment that you didn't have before. These are all things that affect your credit worthiness. And so the biggest advice that I can give you, that any lender will give you, is that when you're going through the home buying process, do not spend any money or get financed for any money outside of your normal monthly utilities and bills that are already existing. So I realize that this can be stressful. I realize it can be frustrating because Labor Day is coming up, and let's just, you know, the refrigerators are all on sale. We need a washer and dryer and they're all on sale, and we're not going to close till after. How come I can't, you know, take advantage of those sales? And the answer is because we don't want that fridge or that washer and dryer or that new truck or whatever to negate your ability to be able to purchase the house in the first place. So sometimes it's just a matter of being patient and waiting, and just waiting until you move into the house, everything's closed and you're all set. Okay, as far as utilities go, so homeowners insurance, you need to take care of ASAP. That is very easy to adjust the date for. All homeowners all insurance agents are very well versed in the home buying process, so you can have that date start of your insurance at any time and they can change it within a matter of seconds. So the homeowners insurance you definitely want to start shopping for as soon as possible and to pick the one that you want, and so that we can get it all turned in, because the homeowners insurance is a requirement for most lenders that you actually have an escrow account that you are paying money into to make sure that you always have homeowners insurance. Okay, as far as the rest of the utilities go, most utility providers can get services turned on pretty fast. Occasionally, you'll have maybe a city that takes a little bit longer to turn the water on. Maybe you have AT&T and you need to make sure that you have internet, and they kind of schedule their technicians out a week and a half in advance. My suggestion would be to wait for about 10 business days before you move in to start ordering your utilities, your gas, your electricity, and your utility provider. Your cable or internet provider. The reason I say that is because if these things do require a deposit, let's say that you have to pay for the water to be turned on, and you go and you do it too far in advance, let's say something happens to the purchase and you don't end up actually buying the house, well, now you're having to wait for another deposit to come in, and those could be kind of expensive. So you want to wait until we're pretty sure that the house purchase is going to go through, and but you're not waiting to the very last minute. You definitely want to make sure that the house isn't sitting empty with no electricity on or no anything for too long a period of time. So you want to make sure that you get it done timely, but I would say to wait until about 10 to 14 days before we actually close to go ahead and order those utilities. You will get a reminder email from me to go ahead and make sure that those are taken care of. I have had clients that have forgotten to do that, and then they end up having their water turned off and they don't understand why. So we definitely want to make sure to do that. But if you have any more questions about when you can start purchasing items, when you can turn utilities on, or if you need a list of referrals from different companies that provide these services, please let me know and I'll be happy to help. Thanks, bye.